The Awkward Genius Podcast. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Awkward Genius Podcast. I made an episode yesterday, which I listened to afterwards, and I realized that I say or ah about every 10 seconds. And so today, I'm going to be working on being, I guess, a little less conversational and a little bit better talking without the hemming and the hawing. So, today on the agenda, I've got the next about 6 months of videos that I'm going to be making for my main channel. And what I wanted to do, this is going to be a different kind of video, going back to my roots a little bit, really, see there's a little there, really focusing on who I want to be talking to, which is not trying to break into the audience of 14-year-old girls that are all over YouTube, or young men taking steroids and showing off their impressive muscular gains. I may do some working out in different, see there it is again, in different videos, because it is an interesting way to actually show something while we talk about it. But basically, I'm going to be trying to focus my attention on what I call the old YouTubers, YouTubers for the holiday season, the old YouTubers, which is basically everybody over 50, because I think people under 50 definitely still consider themselves super young, and they're hanging with the memes, and they're watching the funny videos of the kids, and they want to get into that. And then at some point, see, that's my dog. Oslo, come here. Come here. Up. Come on up. Come see the people. Come on up. Oslo, come on. No, not there. Oh my god, you gotta go through. Look at you. Okay, aren't you excited? Aren't you excited? Did you see somebody walk in front of our house? Did somebody walk in front of our house? Did you get him? Did you bark at him? Did you? You let me know. You let me know there was somebody walking in front of our house. That's a super important job, isn't it now? Okay, get down. Yeah, I know you're all gruffling. You're gruffling and barking. So as I was saying, getting back to actually trying to talk to this whole older demographic of people that are on YouTube and that don't have as much of a corner for them. They don't have as much of a part of YouTube that caters to them, that's basically for us. So that's what I'm going to be going for. That is on my main channel. On this channel, I'm just learning to talk. That's why this video so far, or this podcast installment, is very, very bad, because half of my brain is trying to get me to just say words and not hem and haw and say a bunch of weird likes and ums and stuff like that. This is one thing I realize, if you ever see French politicians definitely do this. I think American politicians probably do as well. They get a certain cadence to their voice when they're speaking, which has these pauses built into it. And it's a way of, when you don't have something to say, consciously being silent until you're ready to speak again. And so you end up with this fairly strange kind of politician cadence to your voice, but the ums and the ahs are impossible to listen to. So we're going to try and get to hear from there, which means not saying that all the time, but then still sounding like a normal person and speaking correctly. This is something I wonder sometimes if this will help me in my actual life, learning to talk. Will learning to talk help me be better in my life and get better results in things that involve other people? Who knows? I think it's worth a try. So I'll be continuing the learning to talk. And there it is. As soon as I don't know exactly what's coming next, it's very, very difficult to listen to. And so I know this episode is going to be terrible. You should probably leave, because there's going to be a couple of these, maybe many, where and that's the whole point of this whole channel. People aren't really supposed to be here. Is I'm just talking to camera to learn to talk to camera, to talk like there's a person there, but without wandering off verbally in all kinds of different directions. So as I was saying, I've got a bunch of different topics here. I'm just going to pick one and riff on it for a little bit, because I have not, these videos will be more scripted than what I'm doing here, definitely. I will probably come up with some kind of a framework. Hopefully I can bullet point it and then go through those bullet points more naturally and not be just reading right off of a script, even though that, if done correctly, could be just fine. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to start with the first one. I moved to France when I was 27. So I'm not sure what the title of this video is going to be, but my next series of videos on my main channel, I'm really going to try and get into topics that are personal to me, are things that I live through that I think could be interesting to other people, interesting or instructive. So this first one is kind of particular, because I don't think there are a ton of people that are planning on moving to France. I don't think that even really particularly interests people, but that's kind of one of the foundations, one of the bases, plural of bases, I believe. There's an for you, just throwing that in for fun. It's the part of the basis of my whole life. I mean, I moved to France, I believe, when I was about 26, 27. Just turned 50 a year ago. So we're getting up pretty close to half my life in France. Definitely the part I remember the best has been in France. Most of my childhood was in America. Most of my adult life was in France. So without really getting into the whys, because that's just kind of personal lore, and while some people may be curious what leads people to do the things they do, it's pretty mundane at the end of the day. It's the same kinds of things for relationships or for jobs or for the love of traveling. For me, it was not a particularly conscious decision. I finished a year of studying in England, which was the first time I'd been to Europe or outside of America, or really outside of a couple of states in America where we had family or would go on vacation. And especially at like 25, it was eye-opening to realize that the rest of the world exists. It's hard to explain. I believe back then, I would say that when I looked at the map, you take a country like France was just a blue hexagon next to another yellow shape, next to a pink shape, next to a green shape. And these countries, I mean, I'd heard their language, I'd seen depictions in movies, but until you're really on the ground, you don't get the sense that there is a whole, it's like a parallel universe, because it's humans doing the same stuff, putting bread in toasters, except that bread's a little different, the toasters are a little different, the people are a little different, their language is organized different, and that makes their brain work different. And that little shift is fairly eye-opening. Especially, I was 25 and in the heart of my university studies, so basically peak curiosity when you're learning at university all these interesting things, and you go to the bar or the cafe and you're talking about it with your friends, and really just kind of remaking the world. There's an for you. Let's see what happens if we don't do those. So anyway, that was my kind of landing in Europe. And then I was gonna say easily, but it wasn't. I had a bunch of round trips, kind of back and forth between Europe and America after that, with no particularly good landing pad in either country. I just banging back and forth between friends and family's couches and just making it work however it wanted to work. And so that's what landed me in France. There are some interesting aspects of it, that parallel universe dimension. I've talked about this before. Is super interesting. It's super stimulating intellectually. It really keeps you on your toes to just not be able to settle into that sameness of, you just know how everything works and what is expected in every situation, and you can kind of just turn your brain off and just coast through life. In a different country, especially the first couple of years are spent learning and somewhat mastering that different language. That is not an option. You have to be engaged. And especially, like I said, I was sleeping on couches and staying with family. So there was no just get a job in an apartment, try and find a girlfriend, and then just coast. I was definitely hustling in my own way. And then there's a lot of things that come with it that are not necessarily easy. I never really got a job over here. There's two different kinds of contracts in the French system. A short term, which means it has a set end time when you're hired, and then an open-ended long term. And the long term is what everybody wants. It's what the bank wants if you want a loan for anything. And it's basically almost like your credit score. But I almost never got those offers. I did get one early on as making websites, and I was coming off a job in America where I was making websites I was working on websites for Intel, Adobe, Microsoft, and this little French company was so impressed that they offered me a job at minimum wage. When I asked if there was any room for negotiation, they showed me the 50 resumes on the counter and said, if you don't want it at minimum wage, we'll take the next guy. So I did get one open-ended contract at minimum wage, way below what the post is worth. Especially back then, website designers were even more coveted because we were new. We'd all just learned it, and there weren't that many of us. But that job, I didn't even actually stay in for that long because it was pretty terrible. And other than that, I was offered short-term contract after short-term contract for teaching English, for my the thing that I do for graphic design. I had the last job I had a short-term contract for 3 years, and then at the end of that, they offered me another one, 3-year, which sounds like some security, except like I said, I was getting on, and the bank will not give you a loan if you don't have the long-term contract. I asked the banker, should I quit this good paying job? If I quit this good paying job and went and got a job at McDonald's, you'd give me a loan. He said, yep, hey, you should do that. That's what you should do. Just anybody who will give you a long-term contract, immediately after that, will give you a loan. Then you can quit that job and go get your other job back. So it's kind of crazy. So I declined to renew that 3-year short-term contract and open my own business. I was able to see. I got that. I'm really listening for him. That's going to be very distracting for you and for me. I do apologize, but like I said, this is just about practice. So I was talking about how I started my own company, was able to hold on to former employers as contracts, and I have had that company ever since. And with enough time and getting an accountant, a certified, registered accountant to do my books and sign them after, I think, 3 years, 3 exercises, then the bank started to look at my income as if it was real income, and I was able to buy this fantastic little chalet. Now, if I were not 50 with tendonitis in both my shoulders, I could probably spread my arms out wider than that. But that's about as far as I want to go right now. So the job side was difficult. The language side was difficult. Culturally, you're always an other. Even when you learn a lot of the cultural landmarks, it's never your same thing or your personal culture. So there are a lot of parts of it that do make it difficult. On the other hand, I'm still here. So sometimes just those things that are difficult are the things that you end up liking. I talked about this, I think it was yesterday. Time goes fast. It was sunny yesterday. It is not sunny today. About how sometimes the hardships you go through, you end up kind of identifying with those. And I think in my case, that might be part of it. It was difficult to get installed here in France. But the fact that I did all of those things, it's like my little personal successes. And then there's a lot of things that I just like about being here. And after this much time, it's just comfortable. The whole socialist country aspect, where I have not had to worry my whole adult life about healthcare. I haven't had big health problems, but I just go to the doctor, and at the end they ask me to give them 22 euros, and I kind of chuckle, knowing that not only is that ridiculously cheap, but that I'll get about 18 of that back from the government. I'll get reimbursed. Often I go to the pharmacy and it's either a couple of euros for whatever the doctor's prescribed, or it's nothing. When my kids were coming into this world, the extent at which pregnancy is just free in France is stunning. When I would go in to get any vitamins or any of the prenatal stuff at the pharmacy, it was all free. The hospital, you just, actually all the Lamaze classes, all the prenatal stuff was totally free. You just go in and baby is born and you just sign, give them your little health card and sign, and then you leave. And they say thank you. And then a midwife calls you and says, I'm going to come to your house a couple of times and walk you through some of the basics, giving a bath, some of the basics for care. Keep an eye on the belly button stub. And that's just free. There was a lot of stuff like that. That is just astounding. That you just don't have to worry about at all. Unemployment is there. It's in place. If my company bites it, I've got state unemployment. I was able to get basically an unemployment insurance policy on top of that to ensure that for the time of unemployment, which is either 18 months or 2 years, it used to be 2 years, I believe it's come down a bit, I will get the salary I've got now for 2 years. So a little bit of a safety net. Time to find something else. Which means I'll actually have time to find something else which suits me. I won't have to be pushed into just grabbing something. What's interesting with the unemployment benefits as well, talking a lot about the French social system all of a sudden, but it's a big part of why things work over here. When you can have that peace of mind. While one is on unemployment, if I do freelance or if I find some part-time job and I earn a little bit of money, every penny that I earn, well, the unemployment doesn't give me. So say unemployment wants to give me $1,000 a month and I earn $500. Well, unemployment will just cap it off. They'll give me the extra $500, make sure I get to what their limit is. But that extends my unemployment benefits in time. Basically, as soon as they open up my unemployment benefits, there's an amount of cash that they want to spread over 24 months. But if it can go further, because I don't need it all, because I do some part-time work, then it'll go further and further. So, interesting system, a lot of peace of mind, like I said. Even though a lot of things are difficult about it. And now at this point, honestly, I don't even think about it. This is just where I'm at. My kids are very French and also very proud to be American, even though they probably never have American nationality, but they have some American roots. And this is just where I am. I built this house. I didn't do the exterior. Somebody did the concrete and the exterior walls and the roof and the windows. And then I spent 2 years just banging away at the rest of it. It is gorgeous up here. I'm up in the French Alps with an incredible view and just a very calm, quiet little corner of the world. I can just walk straight up the mountain. I've got an international airport less than an hour away. So, and a relatively good-sized European city with, all the restaurants and symphony orchestra and theaters and everything else you could want from a city. I can literally go there for the evening. I can go to a concert just for the evening. So I'm pretty good where I am. It has definitely been hard getting here at times, but here I am, and here I plan to stay. So this has been super long. I can't see the timestamp or the camera or any of it, so I don't even know if this is recording. Hopefully I hit the button in the beginning. I am not going to do any advice other than, maybe move to another country. It's kind of fun. And other than that, when this video is over, I'm going to hit the red button. You should go now.